Today we've got a special treat. We're going to go through how I create an image for the concept art that we've been working on for Firmament. Let's show the final image first. Here we have the final result. I'll go through and I'll show you how I created this image. So, first and foremost, what we almost always want to start off with is reference. So we gather some reference based on the environments that we want to convey, the stories we want to tell. In this case, we were really inspired by some places, I guess this is Meteora, Greece, but what was really inspiring about these is the spires themselves, these sheer rock cliffs with structures on them, the lush green valleys that we wanted to get in there. We have, it's super striking, really interesting. Yeah, look at these structures, they're beautiful. So we wanted to get a feel for the verticality of these upright structures with man-made architectural elements on them as well. Usually what I'll start off with is a sheet full of thumbnails. I'll create a few thumbnails about how I might want the composition to look, and they're just really rough and sketchy, really kind of cruddy. A little bit of information about composition, information about how I might want the scene to be set up, what camera angles we're looking for, what lives up here on this spire, things like that. Nothing really detailed. Oftentimes I'll just do these really quick thumbnails. So I'll go off and armed with my new thumbnails, I'll pick say this one, and I'll create assets that I would want to build for them. So in this case, I know that I wanted something like a greenhouse. So I wanted my first element to be a greenhouse, the second element rock structures, third elements to be kind of girdered bridges, walkways, and then of course the greenery. Once I have this information, I'll go into 3D Studio Max is what I use. And I'll go ahead and I'll create models. This is a structure. You can kind of see it's inspired kind of by the Art Deco architecture of like the 1920s. But this is kind of my take on a conservatory. I'll have created a conservatory. I'll lay out usually a scene, just a really quick little block out. So once these things are created, create some rocks, some bridge elements, some conservatory type structural elements, architectural. Then I'll actually take those over to my renderer. I'll toss those into, I use Octane Render. It gets results really quickly. Really nice lighting engine it has in there. I'll toss my scene that I created into my renderer and find an interesting view. Let's say we like this view, but we don't like the lighting. We can actually change the lighting angles. We can see that we're getting a little bit different lighting scenario here. I'll find the lighting angle that I like. Maybe it's casting some shadows across my image in an interesting way. I'll set it up based off of both my reference and my thumbnails that I've done. And there's something interesting about having it in 3D. You can actually find interesting compositions that you wouldn't have been able to find otherwise. So let's say we like this. Let's say we like this image and we want to take it to Photoshop. Now this next part of the process is called basically photo bashing. And I'm using photos in such a way as to speed up my process without having to paint the entire scene. And I'll show you what I mean. Here's the biggest example I'll use is the sky. I'll use my masking layer to grab the sky. And we'll create a mask. It's got the drawings from the background. But now, basically anything we put behind the sky, we're going to perceive that as the sky. All right, so let's grab this one. We'll just paste it in there. It's really tiny. But even already, you can see that I'm able to kind of composite or drop in images to help and flesh out my scene. And even when I'm in Photoshop, I can change the color value to adjust the scene. Then I go through and I use various images. For instance, if I needed to find a forest from the air, I would do a Google search or find in my own reference what forests look like from the sky. So looking at this guy, you might get an nice aerial view of greenery that we want to introduce. Then I would start, of course, laying on these various layers. I'll go through and I'll go ahead and just turn off some of the layers that I use to build this image. You can see that there's a lot of color grading going on. There's a lot of masking and material. It looks really, really ugly when I turn those layers off. You can see how I'm compositing these various images in here to get an image a full image that I'm looking for. What I then do is I go in and I'll paint over. The next part of the photo batching process is to go in and hand paint over top of my composited image, and that's to blend in the various portions of the image. You can see that I've incorporated some statuary, some textures on the buildings. And I blended in some brush strokes to give it a painterly feel. All in all, we'll go ahead and take, before the image is through, I'll go ahead and do like a pass with levels, my curves adjustments, and maybe do a vignette, darken the corners and such like that. But all in all, that's a very, very high level overview of how I achieve an image like this. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy the image and stay tuned for more Firmament updates.